Who, 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 who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Motivation to youth only. Mentally feel like Kobe. I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili. From young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready. Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the one-on-one sports show here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, Shawnee in the building tonight. Hopefully, we'll see Dante and the coach later on this evening. Make sure as you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly, as you come in, certainly helps our algorithm here. And certainly also consider dropping a Cash App or Super Chat to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. You see scrolling his Cash App at the bottom of the screen, Black Man Unfiltered. You can find him on Cash App. And again, anything that you want to give to us personally, you see our personal Cash Apps that are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So again, we appreciate you guys being with us on this very busy time in sports. A lot of news and topics to cover tonight. So definitely look forward to this conversation. But let me just start out by saying what's going on with you, Shawnee. How are you?
I'm doing good. I feel like I'm battling the cold, of course, from the kids.
I know. I took a day off yesterday. I was like feeling something coming on like a Monday night. So I just worked from home on Tuesday, and I think I kind of got control of it again. But I'm still, I'm taking my zinc lozenges and my echinacea and heavy dosing on the vitamin C and whatnot. So I got a little regiment that I take to try to.
Normally, I get one every time the seasons change. It's already been, in the heart of fall for us right now, and it's trying to get on me again. So, them kids always be bringing some type of germs to the house.
Absolutely, man. But but let's get into this night. Again, we appreciate you guys being here. Let's jump right into it. As always, certainly during the season, this NFL week 14. Just looking at the general map here, just my initial observations, what we're going to get into. Shout out to Green Bay, who certainly sees it seems like the Chicago Bears were on a roll, and certainly they've seized power back again in the NFC North division. So kudos to them. Jordan Love is certainly, and I think there was some doubts on him around the midpoint of the season. Could he be that guy? And certainly gets a hot Bears team. Certainly he was able to get the victory there. So again, shout out to him. The West, again, hotly contested at this point. I still think the Rams are the class of the division, but I mean, Seattle, they're going to be right there. They look very impressive. Their last two victories, actually. And, San Francisco's hanging there tough as well. Shout out to the Panthers for, again, tied for first place in the Southern Division. And then, of course, we see the Eagles just tumbling at this point. And your boys, you guys had it, and you guys had the division like in the palm of your hands. So again, we're going to chop up. Can Dallas still pull it out? But the Eagles lost 3 in a row. They're tumbling at this point. And again, as far as on the AFC side, I'm not going to talk too much about the AFC North. I don't want to jinx myself. But certainly Kansas City. We might have to say that dynasty might be over at this point. Look very poor against Houston, but they're surging. It's a very hotly contested AFC South, and Indiana's made some very interesting moves that we're going to talk about. So your Houston team, again, it's not fair that you have two teams that you should only have one team on this to be picking from. But it's like if Dallas doesn't do it, you got Houston on one side. It's almost like it's not fair that you should have more than one team that you're rooting for here. But overall, the teams that are still consistent, New England and Denver, they just find ways to win. And, so it's definitely looking like those teams are heading for a matchup later in the season, in the playoffs. So, but that's my general kind of 10,000-foot view. But what were your main takeaways from week 14 before we get into some specific topics?
I think week 14 had some good games. I thought the Green Bay Chicago game was big. Um, they Chicago had a chance at the end. Like Caleb, look like he had room to throw a little bit more in the back of the end zone. Put a little bit more on his ball, but he kind of threw that kind of flat towards the top of the end zone and whatnot, front of the end zone. So that's why I was able to get intercepted. Um, of course, one of the stories uh, that came out was the Cleveland game and how that thing ended. Houston is playing well, I believe.
That defense looks stifling. I mean,
That defense is the main reason why they're
yeah.
playing well. I mean, I'm still waiting on C.J. Stroud to. Right now, from his rookie season, he just regressed. And if you ask people, man, they'll blame the OC or they'll blame the O line, which could be valid. But even as I'm watching him play, he's missing open receivers. He's just inaccurate, or his reading. He'll have some plays here and there, because he has some big plays to keep the drive alive versus KC. But I'm just waiting for him to. 'Cause right now, it's really no different when he's in the game compared to the backup Davis Mills. I'm like, the offense still kind of struggles with both of them. So
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for him to show that he is that the first year was just not a fluke. What else we got? That was a big win by Baltimore just falling. And I can say Lamar Jackson, I believe in that game, that was the first rushing touchdown he had since week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you like I knew something when I was watching him in the previous weeks. I'm like, this dude don't look the same at all. Because usually if a pocket breaks down, that's really the last thing you want to do versus him. Because you want him to stay in the pocket as long as possible. Because as soon as he take off running, he's gashing you. And he just haven't been able to do that because of that hamstring. Going over to the NFC side, I think the Rams are really the class of that whole conference.
Mm-hmm.
They back in number 1 seed since Chicago lost. But I think the Rams are back. I think they're just a complete team on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Philly is they free falling. I don't know. And the thing about it is, all them weeks we was talking about and hearing about AJ Brown
right
complaining. Well, the past 3 games has been his best games of the year.
Right.
And they lost all 3.
Right.
Because now it looked like they force feeding him the ball, but not the floor of the offense. Before, it was like the offense was kicking. They were just winning. They were just winning in a variety of ways,
mm-hmm.
getting it how they get it. But now, it's just, I believe this 3 game, they've been just getting gashed by the run. And then now it's like and one last point, because, we talked about how Saquon's been struggling this year so far. And, he had that long run in this game.
Yeah.
And what I did not know, that run came off a fake tush push. They literally ran up, and you saw the defense literally collapse, preparing for the tush push.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically use a trick play to allow him to get that long run. So you can't really, it doesn't really portray like, oh, they figured something out on the run game. No, you just use a trick play because you literally saw the interior of that defense just went in because they thought it was a tush push. They pulled it out with a pitch to the outside, and that's what allowed Barkley to spring for that 50-plus yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So now I didn't catch that before. I just thought, oh, okay. It looked like the line got a good push, for the run game and a good play call, and Barkley finally. But because they are so successful off that tush push, and immediately, because you saw how fast Philly came to the line, and then who was that they played?
The Chargers?
Yeah. As soon as you saw the Chargers react to it, because they thought it was a tush push. I was like, oh, this is kind of like a trick play, and that's basically what happened.
Yeah, I got you. We go into some depth here just to give you a sense of the playoff picture at this point. So again, Denver now. Ironically, I mean, New England had that going for a while, and even though they haven't lost, but again, I guess just based on scheduling and seedings and whatnot, Denver's actually the number one seed now, taking New England off that. And as you said earlier, the Rams clearly, they seem to be the class of the NFC. At this point, Pittsburgh is obviously back to the fourth seed, but they got a game against Miami this week on Monday Night Football. Miami's been surging; they won 4 in a row after there was talk that McDaniels may be out of there, but they're fighting for a playoff spot. And then again, Houston is certainly they may very well wind up winning the South, but them and Jaguars may boil down to them towards the end, because like I said earlier, it seemed like with the Colts, they have their issues that we're going to talk about as well. But just overall, it's just again, a lot of hot contests. I don't think anyone's ran away. I mean, certainly some of the divisional races, like in the AFC East. Maybe that might be like the biggest margin where someone's like clearly ahead, and then you might take Denver as well. But these races are going to come down to these games. These conference games are going to come out toward the end of the season. So shout out to the NFL for this, for the scheduling. That you're going to have a very engaged, even though with the college bowl season coming up and whatnot, you're going to have some very exciting games that are going to be coming up the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and that's going to decide divisions as well as seeding in the playoffs. So certainly this is going to be a very exciting time. And again, I think you see it in, we talked about last week just with the Thanksgiving game. The stakes that were there, highest watched regular season game in history. I think it was like 55 million viewers or something like that. I mean,
I don't know if that record going to be broken. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it has to do with just the tightness. I mean, Dallas has something. I think they still have something to play for, and obviously Kansas City was battling for their lives, and so certainly, Jaguars. They're playing tough. I'm still not sold yet. Certainly I want to see them. Do they have another game with Houston coming up on the schedule?
Nah, I wish. That's
okay. So Jack, I'm still not sold on your quarterback. Certainly in the big moments or whatnot, but certainly they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. But again, I think what seeing Houston, Buffalo, and the 2 seeds New England in charge, I would still put over them. But they're playing very well. So I definitely I definitely have definitely appreciate that. But let's get into some of this specific news from this week. Sometimes we want to talk about, again, we don't cover every game here, but just some major topics from the weekend that I think are worth noting. So obviously here, I mean, Jalen Hurts clearly had the worst game of his probably football career, high school, all the way up or whatever. 2 turnovers on the same play. Okay, 4 interceptions. The last one, look, I mean, tip balls can happen at the end of the game, whatnot. I don't know if he should have threw that pass or whatever, but certainly I thought they were in a position to at least tie the game and maybe work for a tie, but they were moving the ball. I thought they were going to go in and score and to win the game, but despite the turnovers that Hurts had, I thought that game was set up to be won, but it just didn't happen. So again, the worst in his career. So all you guys who are talking about Jalen Hurts is an average quarterback, you guys certainly for the last 3 weeks you have plenty to talk about that. But I'm still not putting that whole Lamar Jackson conversation. I'm still standing firm on that. I'll still take Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson just based on resume and performance in the big games. I'm not, certainly I don't think Jackson, or for you Lamar Jackson fans, I don't think you have anything to brag about. But certainly for those who are saying that he's a game manager and not good in the big moments or whatnot, yeah, I mean this game here, not much to say if you're a Jalen Hurts fan at this point or an Eagles fan, that you're just going to have to take that L on this one. Very very poor game, and again it says here first player to commit 2 turnovers on one play since 1978. It was just a bad game all the way around. So from your standpoint, Shawnee, what is going on with the Eagles? As we said earlier, so like A.J. Brown, ever since he got his touches that he's been moping about all year. I mean, you could talk about how they went ugly or whatever, but they were winning. Now A.J.'s getting the ball, and somehow they're not, they haven't been able to put it together. So what do you think is going on with the Eagles at this point? Is it the coaching? Is the play calling? What do you think that's going on here where they just haven't been able to find a winning formula? Likewise for Dallas, do you still give Dallas a chance to eke out this division?
One, I still give Dallas a chance, but not because of Dallas, but more because of Philly, because they currently like in this free for all, and they don't mainly because again, like we saw 2 years ago, they offense just hit a rut, and if this goes by what we saw in recent history, man, they will lose. Like I think 2 years ago they lost their last 6 games, including playoffs. So they have shown that they do this. That offense once it goes, and they can't. It's like they can't get themselves out of it. So that's why I believe Dallas, if they could just stand packed. I know with Dallas' schedule, they lost against the Detroit, but I mean it's hard to go 3-0 in that span of games they had. But because of the way Philly, has been playing, that definitely give Dallas a chance to win that division. Now it hurts, and with really just the team in general, I believe they may be paying too much attention to the outside, the noise on the outside. You kind of see it the way the offense has been trying to target A.J. Brown recently, try to make sure he get his targets, but it just don't really seem like in the flow of the offense. And it looks like really, from what I'll be watching some of their games, man, they so focused now when they throw the ball to A.J. Brown, they kind of not even, they don't look too much towards the Devontae Smith way as much.
Mm-hmm.
So even Dallas Goedert, he still get his touches here and there, but you can tell if a team is forcing the ball to a receiver, and it just kind of looks like it's not like the Rams, like a hot Stafford. When he gets a hot receiver, he gonna force feed him. That's a Stafford. Like Puka Nacua, it's not no thing if Puka Nacua may have a game where he get 15 plus targets.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Stafford. Once they hot, he will stick to the hot hand.
Yeah.
With the Eagles, it's just like, okay, we try to satisfy Brown, but in the meantime, you done sacrificed your offense because you already have a running game that's not playing up to par. I mean,
right.
They had their first, their longest run by far versus the Chargers, but again, we just spoke about that. That almost looked like a trick play. That wasn't really like in the flow of the offense. So it's I don't really know what, because I believe they had some, was it Jordan Davis? I want to say they had like a potential key big injury on the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that can play a part in it. So yeah, I'm seeing what Antoine. Yeah, it looks like they are. Because I've been hearing on the sports radio, like, fans are already talking about they want to fire Sirianni. I'm like, this dude just took you to the Super Bowl.
That's Philly.
I'm like,
that's
I don't.
Philly for you.
And then they talking about benching Hurts for the backup. I'm like, really? But it comes off like they paying too much attention to the outside noise. And even though this is a new offensive coordinator, we've seen this happen before with another OC. Like, once that offense they hit a rut, they cannot get out.
Yeah.
They cannot get out. And I don't know why it's like that for them. And once they get in that rut, it's like Jalen Hurts. He's the biggest person who's in the hole.
Yeah,
His play suffers.
yeah,
And
sure.
so
Yeah.
that's
And
one thing
I
can
thought
come
their
up with
defense played well enough to win that game. I mean, the
They
Chargers
did.
they got
They
5 field
did.
goals. One thing, shout out to the Chargers. That kicker though, I was reading some stat. The guy's like a
Cameron Dicker.
94%
I think he came
field
from
goal
UT.
percentage. I mean, that guy is money. I mean, automatic.
Between him and Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah. I mean, it's I was like, I mean, at first I had to do a double take on. I couldn't believe the numbers, but he's the most statistically accurate field goal kicker in history. I don't know, what by not number of kicks or what have you, how far they're going back on that. But I was just blown away by that. But he won
he
the
helped
game
me in my
5.
fantasy squad, and my opponent, my opponent had Hurts.
Yeah,
and this was the first round of our playoffs, so he's not having a good day probably.
Yeah. But real quick, I know you're still optimistic about your Cowboys. I'm not sure here. I think they can go 3-1. So they got the Vikings next week. Then they have the Chargers coming in. That's going to be a very important game. The last two, they got the Commanders and the Giants to wrap up the season. So I can see 3-1. Is going 3-1 going to be enough, or do you think they have to basically run the table and win out altogether? Can they afford to lose another game and possibly get this division?
My bad.
So I was looking at your schedule. Your last 4 games, you got the Vikings, the Chargers, Commanders, and the Giants. I can definitely see 3-1. Will 3-1, in your view, be enough to win the division, or do they have to win out?
No, they have to win out. That
Charger game is going to be game is going to be huge.
That game that they lost to the Lions basically confirmed. Only reason why they are still in it because Philly is playing as bad as they are.
Yeah,
but they have to win out because even if basically they could have really gained some ground if they beat Detroit.
For sure.
So basically, if they lose another game and Philly lose again, you just running out of room. You're not gaining on them. Right now, they were a game and a half behind them.
Yeah.
So they need to, you can't just go tit for tat. You need to win. And only thing about Philly though, they have 2 versus Jalen Daniels.
Yeah, they got they got the Raiders and the Commanders, but they got the Bills on the 28th, and then they finish up with the Commanders. So they can go.
Bills at Philly or at Buffalo?
They got the Bills at Buffalo. So again, I could certainly see them going 3-1. So again, they would have to have. They got 2 games against Washington, which I think is the worst team in the NFL at this point. I think they're just in the free fall. Here the Raiders, that should definitely be a win. I can't see them catching Dallas catching Philly just with that schedule. I mean, if they lose to the Raiders, next week, then sound the alarms at that point. If they lose to the Raiders at home, that'll be a major. They'll definitely be calling for Sirianni's job at that point if they haven't already. But yeah. But moving on, again, another team that's in a free fall at this point. This is the desperation of the Colts. So, again, Daniel Jones, sad to hear. I think he has an ACL injury out for the rest of the season. And lo and behold, they're actually going back and signing 44-year-old. They're actually signing 44-year-old Phillip Rivers out of retirement because I think you guys told me. I think Richardson, he's on IR, and I forget who the other backup quarterbacks are, but it's desperate when you got to go in the bag and get a guy who's been out the game for 3 years now. I think Phillip Rivers has been out of football.
His last game was 2020.
5 years. 5 years. So I've never seen and then all the memes. Why don't the Steelers sign Terry Bradshaw out of retirement? You know what I mean? It's so I've never heard of a move this desperate before, but I'm sorry. 5 years out the game, I don't care. He's got a football team of his own at home. He's got about 10 kids or something like that.
I think he has 13.
Yeah, so he's got a football squad. So I'm sure he's been throwing the ball to his kids in the backyard or whatever. But I mean, come on. I mean, if Phillip was a statue certainly in the last few years when he was
Yeah,
playing
that's
in
why.
the
Yeah, he
game.
is a grandfather. He's a grandfather.
This is I've never seen anything like this. But I mean, look, I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures. But
And the thing about it, I don't know if he gonna play Thursday, but they play Seattle, and
mhm,
that defense is about as good as Houston's defense.
mm,
And they put that man out there on that field, man. He mess around and just get
I
he gets
mean,
one of them
man.
dudes come back and blow him up. Boy, that boy body just gonna be broken.
I don't know. I mean, he's staying in shape, but he's got 13 kids. He's staying in shape somehow. So look,
Yeah, he may be staying in shape, but you can't if you're not taking NFL hits for nearly 5 years,
yeah.
plus you coming back at age 44, your whole body is
He's
just
still
gonna.
viral. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
somebody hit him so hard, man, he gonna have legs at the opposite ends of the end zone.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, last couple of years, he was basically a statue back there when he was playing. He had all kinds of injuries and
Thank
whatnot,
you.
pulling this and I mean, look, you get to a point where things just don't work. You can feel great, but things don't work. Yeah, he's got 11. Yeah, he's got 11 on. Yeah, he's got 11 kids to throw to. But yeah, that was I thought that was certainly worth mentioning. But moving on to the next block here. So again, we had Shador versus Cam. This was a matchup of at the time it was a question of who was going to go 1 and 2 at quarterback. And as you see here, Shador clearly outplayed Cam, 364 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown, only 1 interception in the game. So he clearly outplayed Cam Ward. And, the first quarterback since 1950 to pass for 300 yards, 3 TDs, and rush for a TD in a single game. But the controversy in the game, so there's 2 things here. One, for all the guys who still clown Shador, like is he, is he an NFL quarterback and whatnot? So again, you had those folks who were, kind of saying that. Are you still saying that you don't think he's an NFL quarterback? But for his fans, what would have happened if he got the reps over Gabriel, who didn't do anything for you? It looks like clearly out of the 2 quarterbacks, that Shador seems to be the better of the 2 quarterbacks, and he's slated to start the remainder of the games this year. So you got that going on. But the big thing in this game was on the 2 touchdowns, they were down 2 scores on 2 consecutive touchdown plays. The first time they went for it for 2, and they missed. And then on the second, again, they take Shador out of the game and try to run some sort of play, wildcat type of play. And people were just irate over that. It's like, look, the guy's been cooking all game. Why don't you just set up a play to have him go in there at least to tie the game at minimum? Why not have him in there to do that? So people live it at Stefanski. A lot of people are calling for Stefanski certainly to lose his his job and whatnot. So again, is this even if he starts the remainder of the season? Do you think that Stefanski stays? And certainly, again, the slide banner for the show tonight is: would Cleveland be crazy enough to try to get Deion to leave Colorado to coach Shador should he stay with the Browns? Again, I don't think that's likely, especially after the season that Colorado just had. And I don't know if Prime is certainly ready for the NFL. I mean, given his own personal health challenges and everything. So I don't think that's a likely scenario. But what do you think of Shador versus Cam, Stefanski's decisions? And do you think that, you're going to have to remind me also, I don't know if you are pro Shador or anti Shador. I know we were kind of split on the panel. But, your thoughts on Shador and his prospects at QB. And certainly, like I said, for those who were clowning Shador, like he's not an NFL ready quarterback, to put those kind of numbers up, even against a team, Titans aren't necessarily a juggernaut here. But, certainly I think he's earned enough to see what he can do with the final 3 starts of the year. So on all those things, Shador, Stefanski's future, and Shador's prospects in Cleveland, should he stay there?
Well, once I'm surprised that the Titans was able. I think they're the worst offense in the league. and they was able to get 31 points on a very good defense. I think the second-ranked defense in the NFL, and it's mainly because Tony Pollard just ran crazy. I think he had over 160 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, so that was a big reason why they won that game. But yeah, I'm definitely not an anti-Shador. I guess I'm pro Shador, but I don't just want Shador out there just because he's Shador Sanders. I always thought, based on relative to his draft, NFL talent, that still remains to be seen and proven. He needs to show on a consistent basis that he can be a legit NFL quarterback, just like any other rookie QB in the NFL. And I see he already blaming this that Bears loss on Caleb. Caleb could never do right in Hink eyes. But back to his Shador, I was just relative to his draft. Shador Sanders was always looked at as the top prospect in that draft. Like as the season went on, you didn't know, like from when you was watching the games, you didn't really hear other quarterbacks, on the level as Shador Sanders. The closest one was Jackson Dart, and he was still looked at. He said they was like, but he still wasn't putting up Sanders type numbers coming out of college. So that was the whole head scratcher when the draft happened, and how many quarterbacks just got chosen above Sanders.
Yeah.
Now,
before you go on, I just want to acknowledge, because he's in the building.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, #1 fan. Hink 75 in the building tonight. Go check him out. Hink in the basement.
Now he got a legit reason to blame.
Monday
Caleb.
nights at 7 p.m. So shout out to Hink for showing up. But I know how much he loves Caleb Williams, and as you can see, he's giving his views here. Not sure about Lamar either. Lamar's not playing well either. But I just wanted to give.
But Lamar coming off an injury.
Yeah,
he was trying to. They may need to go sit him out, because I think the Ravens out of it now.
Yeah,
I don't think they got a chance to come back.
Give him give him the floor for a second there. But go ahead. You were talking about again Shador and
fast forward to his time with the Browns, based on because Dylan Gabriel was their early round pick. I'm like, okay, now with the Browns, you're gonna have to see what both of your rookie quarterbacks can do, especially after you traded Flacco. So now you're going to have to. So they gave Dylan Gabriel the floor first. He played, got injured. Sanders and Stefanski already came out and said Sanders will be the starting quarterback through the rest of the season. The main thing, obviously, though, because even when Gabriel was quarterback, he was just basically dinking dunking. He was not stretching out the field. You can clearly see with Sanders, he has no problem throwing the ball down the field. So it gives the defense just can't play up. They got to play. They got to honor his throw and receivers and whatnot. But yeah, to that play, the thing about it, when Sanders he led them to. So it was a bunch of mishaps, coaching mistakes, the last 2 touchdown drives. Sanders lead them to a touchdown. They decided to go for 2 when they didn't need to. They should have kicked the field goal to put themselves down by 7.
Yeah.
And then ultimately Sanders leads them down the field again to score a touchdown. They just could have kicked the field goal to tie it. Or if you wanted to go for the win, you had that option. But Sanders goes and leads them to another potential game-time touchdown. And for whatever reason, with the game, he had over 300 plus, nearly 400 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns by this time. So he was clearly clicking. And he, like I say, he just put you back in a position to win by 2 touchdown drives. And then all of a sudden now you choose to get creative. You keep him on the sideline. That's one thing, to get creative on a wildcat formation. Well, sometimes you will see the quarterback go line up as a receiver, and the running back will take the snap and he may throw the ball back to the quarterback who may do a double pass, something like that if you want to get. But that's still the play call itself was goofy. They don't know, why you try to get super creative when you try to at this point in time tie the game. But it's even worse because you kept your starting quarterback on the sideline, and then you want to do this whole. So when it happened, I was saying like Stefanski and Stefanski alone needs to be answering every question that the Cleveland media have for this week. Don't go ask nobody else. Don't go ask Sanders. Don't go ask the rookie running back who threw the pass. Go to Stefanski. Ask him all your questions. Why would you do something like this? Let alone it happened with Sanders. It was just a play call. When you had a quarterback who was, at this point in time in the game, he was dealing. He was the main reason why you were in the position to tie the game. And then you decide, I don't care if it was Sanders, I don't care if it was Dylan Gabriel, but you decide to put him on the sideline and put this trick play and think, okay, you're going to try to tie the game off this trick play. Because normally with trick plays, you may do and say, okay, if it don't work, at least we have other downs. The next down we can get back to the script. But you doing this on a 2-point conversion, it's one and done, and it went terrible. It was a terrible play call. It was executed poorly and everything. So, yeah, Stefanski, he needed to answer every single question, him alone, from that Cleveland media. And I saw some clips on Facebook from the Cleveland media, and they just pissed off. They was like, man, what is this? They just like, what are you doing? And all you got all this noise in the background, and people believing that from the outside that Stefanski may be kind of sabotaging Sanders.
Yeah.
This definitely didn't. The optics of this
it didn't help his case.
Exactly.
Or at least
now I heard somebody, I think from within the Browns, it's like Stefanski actually does work with Sanders quite a bit, even with him and Gabriel, during practice or whatnot. So obviously this is just fans' reaction from the outside. If you show something like that, people are going to start assuming all type of things. But just that play calling, man, it's just, dude, that was not it, especially at that point in time in the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we'll see what happens. But again, for all those Shedeur haters out there, he's showing, again, give him time, let him get those first team reps and whatnot. I still think he needs a little more size. Let him put on 10, 15 in the offseason and whatnot. I think because you guys were talking about Lamar losing all that weight or whatever. I don't know if that helped him. And the fact that he's injured now, I don't know. I just think at QB position, as physical as the NFL is, I think you need some weight on you. Certainly that weight didn't hurt him too much prior to that. But once he got skinny, you can't take those hits as well, or those injuries start to pile up. So I'd rather see him plus 10 pounds rather than losing it.
But one thing about Sanders, though, he is a gamer. So you got to give him that. He will put his body on the line so he can give his teams a chance to win. So that's the biggest thing I think about Sanders. Right? You saw that in Colorado. If his team was in the game at the end, he was going to do what he had to do to put them in a position to win. So the only thing about with Sanders, real quick, I don't know, because Watson is coming back. Watson has too much money guaranteed. Yeah. So if Watson is back, which he should be back next year, he's going to be the starter. So what they going to do with Sanders, what they going to do with Gabriel, and what they going to do with these rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah. And you came in with all these QBs. You got one guy who's almost 50 years old. You got Pickett from Pittsburgh, who wasn't going to do anything. So I mean, it's like Cleveland. It seems to be the place where quarterbacks go to die. I mean, and the fact that when we see Baker Mayfield, I know Tampa, they're struggling with the injuries right now, but he's played a heck of a lot better since he left there and whatnot. So it's just a bad place to go if you're a quarterback in the NFL. On or off the field, you just find yourself in situations there. So I hope he continues to improve, and I hope that he can, certainly we can get to see what everything he can do, and then you certainly can judge him fairly. But next story here, again, Chiefs. So again, your defense again was very dominant, and they looked old. I mean, the last play when I saw Kelsey dropping passes, he dropped 2 passes in a row. The last one he got, it was like right there, would have been a key first down for those guys, and couldn't. He's on the sideline, look at his hands. I think he's done. I think you're gonna have to just break this whole thing down. I don't even know if Andy Reid wants to continue coaching, but I think that I don't know if you would call them a dynasty. Is it fair to call them a dynasty in today's terms? But yeah, and it happens quickly. When you have that fall off. Do you think that they try to run this back next year, or do you think they need to break this whole thing down, including possibly looking for a new head coach?
Oh no, man. Their core. Well, I don't want to say core now.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey's done. I mean, you could tell.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kelsey,
his last.
They probably need to draft the heir apparent for Kelsey. Definitely keep Andy Reid and Mahomes together. That's a mastermind duo. This is basically how much years Andy Reid feel like coaching. You don't how successful has he been? Because he was successful even with Philly. It just didn't have a Super Bowl. But you don't fight. It's and Stephen A. Word. It's blasphemous to fire Andy Reid. When he walks away, you let him walk away when he's ready. Especially when he has a quarterback like Mahomes. They gonna have to. They have some stuff they gotta do. They gotta re-up that offensive line. Definitely gotta find the replacement for Kelsey.
And then the guys Pro Bowl, All Pro, but I don't know how many more years you think their defensive
Chris Jones.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
He's up there too, and he's getting a pretty decent check. So again, I think they're just aged out. I mean,
well, that's the thing about the Chiefs right now. They was on this run for so long. It's kind of like my Astros. They was on that championship run for so long. When it's over, and you're going to potentially have you're going to have to address a lot of spots. Because a lot of times when a team has this long of success, that means their core players was able to do it. In this case, Mahomes, Kelsey, and they was able to kind of, because you thought that was going to be Tyreek Hill with them. But, when they traded him, they was able to kind of get by with the receivers they had now. But Rashee Rice, he could probably he still have room to improve. But they're gonna have to address a lot of spots. So basically, they find themselves in a position that they haven't really found themselves in nearly a decade. So
and these receivers, I mean, look, they got the speed so there, but again, dropping balls. I mean, you saw that same thing that was plaguing them last year. They were able to kind of get through it. But again, too many receivers dropping passes. Again, can't stay healthy on the running back position. And again, Jones is 31, so he's kind of in his, you could say, prime or maybe a little bit past his prime. But you don't know if he. No, I'm saying Jones, Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
Yeah, I'm just saying just across the board.
For a DN, I gotta see what they age prime. Cause I think he still could be considered prime. I think a running back that, of course, at over 30, that is the the downhill side. But I think as a DN, because they got to look at the defensive tackle. But yeah, that third quarter versus my Texans, he looked like old Chris Jones. Then that dude was dominant. Just that in that third quarter alone. But yeah, I think with the receivers dropping passes, yes, they hit some in his hands, but Houston was just being so physical with him, and you become physical with a team. You can kind of have them start kind of thinking a little bit. Who was that? What? How is it not? I guess he hasn't been keeping up with the Astros. Well, because the Chiefs, been a decade, right? In a decade, the Chiefs went to what, three? How
Well,
much
four
Super Bowls
Super
they win?
Bowls.
4 Super Bowls. Okay, in a
No,
decade, the Astros
no,
in less
five
than
Super Bowls. I think five, right? They lost two and they won three.
let me see. I gotta think. They won three.
And they lost two. They lost to the Eagles and they lost to the Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so they went to 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was in the span of what, 10 years?
Let's
Nearly
see,
10 years.
Patrick Mahomes, he went there in his
And they went to nine straight AFC. They won nine straight AFC West titles.
yeah.
Um, so it's just like the Astros. The Astros in a 7 years, 8 year span went to what, 5 World Series, 17, 19, 20. No, 17, 19, 21, 22. They went to 4 World
Right.
Series, but they
Well,
could have
it's
went to
really
five.
been 8 years. I mean,
Yeah.
7 years because
So about
Patrick
the
Mahomes
same.
came into the league in 2017. He became the starter in 2018. So since 2018, that's 7 years. So they've been to 5 Super Bowls in 7 years and won three. Now, just off the
Okay,
top,
so
is that a dynasty to you?
that's a dynasty. That's a dynasty because now we have the benefit of looking at a decade, nearly a decade of games and accomplishments. It's just like the Astros, nearly a decade of games and accomplishments. Because I mentioned the Astros could have went to 5 straight World Series. Literally, they lost the years that they didn't do it because they lost Game Sevens in the ALCS.
Mhm.
So they that's why I compare the Chiefs and the Astros because they was literally dominating their respective sport. Literally in the NFL, the Chiefs were the gatekeeper to the Super Bowl. That's why Lamar Jackson kept falling.
Yeah,
Josh
and
Allen
Buffalo
kept
quarterback.
falling.
Yeah,
It was
Buffalo
the same exact
quarterback
thing
Allen. Yeah,
in the baseball. The gatekeeper in the AL was the Astros.
yeah.
Ask the Yankees. Ask all these other teams that kept losing to them from 2019 or 2017 to 2023 until the Rangers finally beat them to get to win there. Because the Astros could have went. They were one game away from going to the World Series that year until the Rangers beat them. So I don't know what you got going on.
All right, let's get into some college football. A lot of things happening. In fact, some breaking stories
And there's some breaking stories today, really.
that have been happening as of late. I don't know if you want to bring this. Well, why don't we just get into it now? Because I don't have all the details yet, but I would just want to kind of get your initial reaction to something that literally just happened. If I can get my screen to share, share screen.
You're going to keep gnawing on that bone, Antoine. You're talking about you a Yankees fan. Yeah, you're going to keep gnawing on that bone when it comes to Yankees and the Astros.
Yeah. So this is a breaking story. So earlier in the day, Michigan coach gets fired because because of some wrong relationship, inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Again, don't all know what that means, but now he's also retained by the police after firing. So I don't know what's going on here. The brother was 7-3 this year. I think was his record as a coach, 18-6 the last 2 years. He's been there, but this kind of came through the wires. I was just scanning. I saw it was like front page news on ESPN.
Yeah.
Him being fired there, but your thoughts on this. Again, details will certainly come out. But this is certainly a surprise to me. Given all the scandals that we had before, just in sports in general, you have another brother here at the heart of a scandal here. But your initial thoughts on this, or what have you, I don't know if you saw this earlier in the day about the firing, whatnot, but your initial thoughts on this before we get into the main. But this literally just came across, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I find it interesting now. Now you seeing the language now when they are firing these coaches, because coaches are so, they getting fired, but they getting these hellified payouts. You just saw how LSU and Brian Kelly, and then Brian Kelly had to, I guess, went to court or something like that because he said they fired him without cause because they were trying not to pay his buyout. Well, in this case, one of the languages I saw when the news came out about Moore was they fired him with cause.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay whatever potential buyout because it was fired with cause. And so he slipped up with an inappropriate relationship with someone, at the university and whatnot.
Right.
And as I was leaving the gym today, listening to the sports radio, it's rumors. Again, it's rumors, because it was a topic of discussion. Like it's some stuff like soap opera down there. I'm like, man, what the hell is that going on over there? I mean, it's like potential Bambino or something over there. And,
oh my gosh.
And the whole with the police getting involved because he basically tried to go over to the mistress house, whatnot. At this time, I guess after he was fired, basically at this time, it just looks like his life was just crumbling down after the decision to fire him. Yeah, I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely know once all the details come out. But for the rumors and stuff like that, man, it's just like, man, dude, it's spiraling. Basically, it's on the level of spiraling. Because he really wanted that Michigan job, but man, you can't let temptation take what you have.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it when James Franklin was let go by Penn State. That was football. He just wasn't. They just we need a new voice. But that's 100% football related. That's why he was able to find a job so quickly at Tech. But we were saying, like, is Penn State like just one of those programs in college football? It may be a program, but I still think it's on the level like Ohio State, Alabama, Florida. Michigan is that program that's up there with those elite names. And with Sharon Moore, he was proud to have that position. And now because you just couldn't, you letting temptation get to you, it's all been taken away. So I hate for that. And it's already a thing now, just on another note, that you see, especially with black head coaches in college football, once they get fired, especially from what used to be called Power 5 or now Power 4 school, and they get fired from that, it's hard for them to get another opportunity like that in college football. They're going to have to start back. I mean, it may sound like I'm joking, but really, they may have to go down to an HBCU if, to kind of get back their, build back up their resumes, because they just don't get, it's just hard for them, or go get a coordinator position at another Power 4 school, but a head coaching position, it's just hard to come by for like black head coaches in that league.
Indeed.
So,
indeed. All right, so let's move on to the big story in college football. So obviously you had the rankings, the bracket came out. So obviously, Indiana, congrats to them. Certainly winning the Big Ten title game over Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech are the top four. And then you got these teams that are in there. Alabama got in. Honestly, I don't think they should have. I think Notre Dame certainly has a case to make. But I'm just looking at this here. And, I get it. You got conferences and conference title games, and there's deals that are cut. I just don't think these are, like the whole idea is you want to get the best 12 teams in this bracket. And I just don't see when you got JMU in there, and I just don't see um, this being a clearly what the purpose of this whole tournament idea was supposed to be. And with Notre Dame being out, you got a few teams that are certainly upset. So again, Notre Dame's out, BYU, Vanderbilt, they all, I guess they tried to make their case, and I guess these were sort of explanations as to why they possibly didn't get in. But your thoughts initially on this bracket, and why you think why you think the brackets fell the way they did, and because again, some of these games almost like the Oregon JMU game is going to be unwatchable. I have no interest in that game whatsoever. And so, what are your thoughts on just this selection process and where this thing is? And yeah, I mean, and we'll go more into Notre Dame in the a little bit, but your initial thoughts on the selections.
Well, first, just to speak real quick about the 11, 12 seeds on here with Tulane and James Madison. Yeah, this is what they agreed to when they expanded it out to the 12-team playoff, because all the teams just reorganizing of conferences and whatnot, going basically creating these super conferences, and it don't really bother me per se. We have teams like that because the game Tulane played, the American Conference League, what's that, Conference Championships. They played against, we was talking about it last week, North Texas. And all these teams that get into the playoffs, they get their conference gets $4 million. So it would have been cool. UNT will still get a part of that for them because Tulane they just spread that amongst the conference because of Tulane. But it does give a chance for those smaller programs and their fan base just to get into the dance and whatnot. But I understand when people say, but these are not clearly the 12 best teams. I guess if you take away these two teams, then we wouldn't have the whole, thing about even BYU and Notre Dame not being it. But I really don't mind these 11 and 12 seeded teams getting into the tournament. Go back to that previous slide when you talked about between BYU and Vanderbilt and whatnot. Yeah, Vandy, y'all just out of it, man. They trying to stay the claim because they got only 2 SEC losses between Texas and Alabama. Yeah, but I don't think you would, as far as ranking, you wasn't above them. BYU, so my whole thing, I think Notre Dame, they just kind of, and I root for Coach Freeman. I do root for Coach.
And they were in the top 12 the entire season pretty much. They were like 9, 10. Yeah. They were like hovering around that the whole year. So how do you get out of it being in the rankings? Well,
because it's between, so it was Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame. And, well, I understand because basically Notre Dame and Miami was just basically waiting on the SEC game, because you kind of, if you choose one of them, you choosing a team that just chilling at home while another team is going to have to play a championship game, So yes, it was an ugly loss by Alabama, but at least they made their respective conference title game. So it's hard to punish them because you got the benefit of just sitting at home.
Not when you get beat like that. If it's
they got the benefit. Both Notre Dame, Miami just had the benefit of just sitting home. Now that's Alabama in their respective conference game. Notre Dame, again, this is why you may potentially need a conference game because you're not just in football. They're in the ACC and all the other sports, but in football they're independent. You don't have a conference game, so you may find yourself in this position. I think after this year, though, there is a clause that they have now that I believe they're the top 12. I think they guarantee the spot, something like that. It's a clause in there for Notre Dame now. But in this case, it's like this is probably why you need to be in a conference because if you find yourself in this, if that clause is not there, you could find yourself on the outside looking in. And then BYU, they made their respective conference game, even though they got dominated by Texas Tech, but you punishing them because they lost that game. So I can see it's always going to be some teams in and out. But going back to Notre Dame head to head, it's like if you look at some of their like analytic stats between their schedule and not, they was going back and forth with Miami. They was literally like a lot of the key analytical stats that the committee be looking at when they making these decisions. They was back to back with Miami until ultimately you get down to head, Miami beat you. So that ultimately was the kicker per se. One of the kickers, I don't know if the committee said that was the kicker, but it was one of the kickers that gave Miami the nod above Notre Dame. So now you have Alabama just being, I believe they're being rewarded because they made their respective conference game, even though they got destroyed. But that, and then Miami, and then it was between Miami and Notre Dame. But as you start going down the line items and you finally get down to head, Miami beat you, even though it was week one. So it's some. That's the thing about it. You ain't gonna please everybody because you're trying to choose 12 teams. So it's some collateral damage that, because I believe if they would have chose Miami and Notre Dame and left Alabama out, you are telling teams that your conference title games, if you make it to a conference title game, that don't really mean nothing. So the way these teams are just not wanting to play in bowl games, they may decline to play in a conference game. I'm like, why? Because we might as well just keep our record now because we see that it can be used against us while you skip over us because we may lost our conference game in a bad fashion, and you're going to give it to a team that they didn't even play in a conference game. They was at home watching us. So you may see teams kind of, we're going to decline that if it's not going to hurt us. And then now you seeing teams that is everybody declining these bowl games or whatnot.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's coming up.
Yeah.
That's coming up, yeah.
So it's a slippery slope with all this, but yeah, like I say, Vanderbilt, nobody listening to y'all. BYU, you kind of have a point, but you wasn't higher in the rankings than the other three teams. It was really between Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami because they was close as the later polls was being released, and I think when it came between Miami and Notre Dame, when you go on, because their analytical stats was fairly similar, you just keep going down, and ultimately, they won a head-to-head. So now that made, because remember at the beginning of the season, that's when you start seeing these key programs play against stuff like the Texas versus Ohio State, Miami versus Notre Dame. They didn't really, especially non-conference games, they didn't do that. What's up, Coach? They didn't do that because the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It'd be harmful. But now they was like, now that we have a 12-game playoff and we can afford to have a couple of losses on our resume now, let's go play these high-caliber teams that could be beneficial to us, during this time, during the selection time. But unfortunately for Notre Dame, them doing that, that ultimately cost them. They only lost by 3 at Miami week 1. Who knows? If Miami would have came up to Notre Dame, it could have been reversed. But you give Miami the edge because they had the home field advantage, and we only lost by 3 to them. But unfortunately, that's what y'all used to keep us out the tournament. So it's hard, man. Somebody's going to be pissed off, and unfortunately right now it's Notre Dame.
Yeah, and it seems like the solution is to open it up to 16 or 20 teams or whatever the bracket they're gonna play in. But all I gotta see is this: And I'm like, come
Exactly.
on,
Yeah.
y'all got to do better than this. That opening week, I don't know when the first game is.
I think the 19th.
The 19th, but come on, no one's going to watch these games. But
Because
anyway,
if
let's
they
get the coach
expand it
in.
to 16 games,
Yeah.
you're gonna see that. You're gonna see more Tulanes and JMUs in that mix.
Yeah, this is not like college basketball, guys. This isn't with football. This is like, okay, the Cinderella story, the mid-major or whatever. This isn't it. Football doesn't work that way. You don't have the David and Goliaths typically like that. But Coach, first of all, how are you doing, sir? And secondly, not sure how much you heard of this, but your thoughts on the selection on Notre Dame being out of the playoffs, and just your thoughts on this bracket selection overall.
Oh man, salute, man. First of all, let me say congratulations to both of my teams today. 5th and 6th grade got them a good win. Played some good team ball, man. But of course, my boys. Come on, Shawnee, be honest, man. They stiffed Notre Dame for Alabama and Miami. Notre Dame lost early. Alabama lost late. They had 3 losses. There's no way.
I see that 3 losses. Yeah.
There's no way that they should have jumped them. Notre Dame, they won out. They won convincingly the rest of the season. And, I can see a toss-up between Miami and Notre Dame. But again, they're showing the fate. There's no way. I'll just say this. There's no way Alabama or Tulane should be in that picture right there. I can see, maybe Miami competing with Alabama, but 3 losses, come on, man. Alabama go get smoked by Oklahoma. So we'll see. But, yeah, it just made it a big old mess. Keep it at 12 teams. I wouldn't go no more than 12 because then you're going to make the season longer. Just keep it at 12 teams. And they just have to do a better way of it. Remember, there was a time if you lost early, because Alabama did this, they lost early and won later, then they got in. Alabama lost late and they got in. And Notre Dame lost early and they didn't get in. So we'll see, man. That's those ADs fighting. Let the ADs fight. That's what they do. It's part of what they're going to do. And unfortunately, Notre Dame is independent, so they're going to always get stiffed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, and Mr. Benaway, he basically kind of alluded to it when we first got on the topic. They could keep this 12 games, but I don't know. Now you're gonna get to the red tape, but just keep it Power 4. And if it's Power 4, and then Power 4 means like, I'm sorry, JMU, Tulane.
It doesn't work. Like I said, basketball, okay. I mean, you can have a team a hot night, dropping threes like crazy and all that. The formula just doesn't work on the football level. There's levels here, and no one's going to watch. I mean, it's going to be 21-0 in the first at the end of the first quarter, and the ratings are going to be horrible. So I just don't see how they can justify this, seeing that there are more highly qualified teams that are out there, and I think they even hurt themselves even more by Notre Dame's response. Now, again, we talked about this a little bit in the back chat, that Notre Dame declines. So it doesn't matter how high the bowl game is. Obviously, they're not going to get the bigger bowls, but they're opting out. And there were quite a number of teams. Now, again, some of these teams don't matter. Like my Rutgers team, they're opting out, but 5 and 7, you shouldn't accept anyway. I mean, I don't think a team, if you don't have a winning record, you shouldn't be playing in a bowl. That's my opinion. Florida State, horrible season. But again, Iowa State's out, Kansas is out. But again, this trend of teams opting out of bowl games, and certainly Notre Dame might be the biggest of all time. If you think about it, what team of that stature that you can recall in recent memory that has sat out a bowl game or declined an offer to go to a bowl game like this? They're probably one of the more higher profile teams that we've seen, at least in my recollection. Now, Coach, I don't know if you recall anybody, but your thoughts on Notre Dame. So obviously, Notre Dame's got that NBC contract. So I don't know if NBC is going to be happy with Notre Dame not playing in a bowl game this year. I'm a little bit surprised that they could get away with that, just given NBC.
Well, I think that's his regular season, I believe, for bowl games.
Okay.
They got their own whoever, like ESPN or whoever, show them.
Right. But again, that hurts college football in general. Not having Notre Dame in a bowl game. I'm not saying they're championship contenders, but that's going to hurt. And then you had a lot of other teams that follow suit. So I know, Shawnee, you had a strong reaction to this as far as teams declining. So what's just your overall view of teams that are declining to get into these bowl games? Is it justified? Can you understand it? Or do you think it hurts? It hurts teams or conferences that they play in.
Well, going back to the point where I mentioned that the 12 teams that got selected to the playoffs, they get the $4 million that they spread amongst their conference. Well, Notre Dame, they was in that playoff. That all go to them. They pocket 100% of that because they not in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. But reason why, so from what I was gathering between the ADs and really between Notre Dame AD and the ACC, I guess you say commissioner, whoever he is, because after, I think when the selection came out, I think the ACC social media and whatnot, they was really pumping, they was really getting on the back of Miami, to the point where it looked like they kind of, laughed or whatever, disrespected Notre Dame as far as how Notre Dame perceived it. Because even though Notre Dame is not in the ACC in football, they're in the ACC and everything else.
Right.
And they have a relationship with that conference. But it looks like that when Miami got selected, ACC was showing favoritism to Miami. And to me, I'm like, well, what do you expect? Miami is one of their schools. You chose to be, Notre Dame was in ACC 1 year during COVID because they needed to be in the conference or whatnot during that time. But then once reality got back restored, they jumped out to be back independent. So ACC, yeah, they loyal to theirs. And as far as the football, they loyal to their team. So that's why they was congratulating more Miami than you. So it looked like it's more like Notre Dame had their feelings hurt. Auburn, I kind of understand them because Auburn is in the midst of a head coaching change. So he's trying to get a new staff, and a lot of their players hit the transfer portal. So I think there was 5 and 7. So they're like, man, it's not really beneficial to put our team out there and let them literally get slaughtered. Now, the thing to do now is, as we see, is teams decline in bowl games. Just recently, you saw Florida State during the Jordan. What's their quarterback name? When Florida State could have went to the playoff, but they didn't because Jordan Travis. When they lost their quarterback and they didn't make it. They had still almost an undefeated season. I think they lost one game, but they didn't get into the playoff. And a lot of their starters sat down. They played the bowl game, but a lot of their starters sat down, and they ultimately got super embarrassed in the bowl game. I forgot what team they played, but they got embarrassed. So now, teams like, man, so we just don't get embarrassed, because you pretty much probably have a feeling that a lot of those teams that decline the bowl games, a lot of their players probably going to decline. Individually. So it's like, man, we just decline it because we don't even want to put a team out there to put a bad product on the field. Now, so it goes, how do I personally feel about it? Because back then, teams was happy to get into the bowl game. Because they, you get money, your program gets money for one. The bigger the bowl game, the more money they receive. The players got individual gifts and whatnot from the bowl game committee and whatnot. It varied. Some bowls gave a whole lot better gifts than others. And in my case with Notre Dame, like I say, I root for Jordan. I root for Marcus Freeman. But I do wish they would have accepted a bowl game. Because to me, that completes your season. it just feels like you just leaving your season incomplete to me. And that, in a personal way, that just kind of feels like it's just, I don't know. You did all that work in the off season and in the regular season. I know you're disappointed because you didn't get a playoff bid, but just go complete the season, man. Give your seniors and just your football team a chance to finish on a strong note. You most likely are going to get invited to a huge bowl game. It's just not going to be a playoff. So that is how I kind of, I don't know. It just feels weird to me just leaving your season incomplete because you didn't get a playoff bid. So you're like, man, we don't want to play no more. And you just took your ball and went home.
Coach, your thoughts on it? On teams, especially Notre Dame. Do you agree with their decision not to play in the bowl game just based on either disrespect or just what's your view overall on teams opting out of bowl invitations, particular team as big as Notre Dame? When it comes to that, so what's your thoughts on that decision?
Well, any team that opts out, it doesn't come through the coach. It goes through the athletic director, and the players take a vote. It's like a vote. If they vote no, they run it by the AD. He approves it. Cool. That's how they move. We can clearly see it with Notre Dame because the AD is the one that's speaking about it. Everything has to go through the AD. You can't just do it. But I agree to some of what Shani said as far as, your seniors, that bowl game sometime can up your draft status, up your opportunity outside of college football. But individual players opt out of a bowl game. So that's something the NCAA has to work out. But, I mean, yeah.
But in Notre Dame's case in particular, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Again, especially what you just said. If the players, you said the AD, he makes the decision, but again, the players and coaches, they vote on it. So to your point about the seniors, if the seniors felt indignant enough about it that they didn't want to play in the game, again, do you agree with Notre Dame's decision? If you were a player or coach in that locker room after the selection, and you saw that, would you try to convince players to play, or would you agree with their decision not to play?
I think in the moment it'd be hard to say because they all are emotional. People go with their emotions about everything, and you may make that decision right after the game and right after the selection. But come that Wednesday, you looking around like, well, damn, what am I supposed to? You want to play, so. I agree just in this case, just because of how they actually looked at records. I guess records don't count. You lose to a top 25 team early in the season. I just don't understand it. To me, Alabama got favoritism this year. Let's just agree. Let's just put it out there. They got favoritism. But,
and it's not. And this is, in my view, even before the college playoffs, we've seen this before with Alabama, where they had 2 losses, but still found themselves in championship, tournament play and whatnot. So it's like there's always been this heavy leaning towards Alabama in general, just to have them involved, whether it be ratings or whatnot. I know they're a very popular team in the nation, but again, so is Notre Dame. I mean, again, they got that NBC deal back in the day for nothing. I mean, they have their fan base as well. But I want to welcome Dante certainly to the show. Certainly glad you were able to hop on. So again, we've kind of gone around, but I just want to kind of get your initial thoughts on the selection of the 12 teams. Did Alabama deserve to be there? Did Notre Dame deserve to be there over Alabama? And your general thoughts on Notre Dame opting out of any bowl appearances this year. So again, if you want to hit on those 3 topics, how you feeling about each one of those?
What's going on, fellas? I'm glad I was able to come in. I was being able to listen to coming into this segment, and I really wanted to come in here because I want to bring the vantage point of this. Not just because I'm a fan of Texas. I'm glad that Notre Dame was left out because I feel like the other teams, and I felt like this for a while, and never more so than now. Make you playing 5 ACC games. Make Notre Dame pick a conference. Pick a side. We don't need to have a separate set of rules for the independents, and we all know who the independents are. Who else is an independent? They're not. The other independents aren't making it in. We know this. We
I think it's
understand
Air
this.
Force. I think.
So I'm. You see, yeah, Air Force. So I'm cool with them being left to the side there because for one reason, you're playing in a conference that's so little respected. And I was also gonna mention this because it all ties in. I heard you, Mr. Bennett, say that you're upset about the group of fives, James Madison and Tulane in there. The way the system is set up, there's the Power Four. They're all supposed to their conference champs get in, but they can't read the rules like that. So they say, hey, the five highest conference champions make it in. Always looking at it as, hey, the ACC, no matter how rough it is as a conference, Clemson, Florida State, Miami are going to come save the day and get the conference bid. Well, they messed it up by Duke winning the ACC, even beating out University of Virginia. So they just messed everything up. I respect the committee for saying, no, I'm not putting Duke in this in this playoff. Also, what I will say, you said, hey, those are going to be boat races. SEC versus Big Ten. Tennessee is a big name program, and they got boat race when they went up to Ohio to Ohio last year, or to the eventual champs. So I do
Well,
think the
Dante.
more teams you put in the playoffs, the more blowouts is going to be. Even in the 14 playoff, teams were
I agree
getting
with that.
smoked.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
national championship games that were
Oh yeah,
laughers, and it's
Alabama
just
Notre
like
Dame a few
that
years ago.
team.
There was a smoke out. Yeah.
Yeah, that team is better
Well,
than that
Dante,
team.
I got a quick question for you, Dante, because you brought it up.
Yeah,
I thought with this whole, I don't know, the more I hear about it, it's just a lot of, I don't know. But I thought it was the Power Four teams, their respective conference winners get an automatic bid. That's why
no, they
before,
changed. They tinkered the rule and they said the five highest conference champions to be like, hey, because
oh,
they're gonna let a group of five in. The way the system is played, they
so
have to dangle the
last year was
carrot to
true.
the
That
group
was
of
true.
five teams.
Last year that was true.
Yeah.
So Duke would
hmm
have been in last year because they won.
Last year, Duke would have been in.
Okay, I got you
And
now. And then
and
okay, yeah.
yeah, so that's how the game works. So you have to dangle that carrot, and they didn't want to put Duke in. And then it's like, if you plus from a business perspective, if we go ahead and put them in, then it's politics that way to get the group of five. So now those teams are going to fight hard and be able to get good jobs and still be able to serve up those teams to go and play the Bamas of the world and the Georgias and so on and so forth. The thing with Alabama is this: I know you can understand and say, hey, I don't think they deserve to get in. They don't want to make because it's coming that way. They don't want to make conference championship weekend not mean anything. We already had a team that didn't go to a conference championship game last year in Ohio State go ahead and win it all. You may see it again this year if Ohio State pulls it off and wins it. You don't want to punish teams for making the conference championship. And then I have a conference championship loss as an extra loss on my record, so I can stomach Alabama getting in at 10-3. I can stomach that, but I can't stomach Notre Dame playing this powder puff schedule and the three toughest teams you played, USC, and they're okay, but they rank top 20. We'll give them that against top 25 ranked teams. They were 1-2. And then so it's just like, hey, I can see with them sitting out when the rest of your schedule is powder puff. You signed this agreement up just like the ACC has this weak conference. You signed to play 5 games a year with this conference, and we understand that you are a media darling or whatever, but their ratings, however, don't really reflect what the name and the prestige is. And we always we love this on the show, talk about, hey, how long since you've been winning a championship? I think it's been 37 years. So it's just like Notre Dame, while they're in the mix, a lot of times they're in the mix because of a lot of puff, and I know that's rich coming from a Cowboys fan, right? But they get puffed up and propped up. So it's like I'm cool with them sitting home. I think it's weak from the AD. Coach Rag, I heard you. Whether it's the AD, whether it's the coaches, the players, whoever it may be, I don't agree with them sitting out the bowl. Go ahead and take your anger and frustration out on that team in the bowl to show how good you are, and show like, hey, coming into next year, keep that fight and hunger in you. What I will also say is this: for the players that are on the fringe of the draft, they should have been fighting to go in there and play that. You want all the curry you can get, the game film that you can get. Also, if you got some guys, if you're draftable in the top 3 rounds, if you don't play, I don't fault you. All I gotta say is Notre Dame, Jalen Smith. We all know about it. We all seen it. I'm cool with. But a whole team opting out, and this is not a team that didn't have a coach. This is a team that had a coach and was straight up pouting, wagging their finger at Notre Dame. And the last point I'll say is this. Notre Dame is mad at the ACC for not propping them up, but they propped up Miami. Well, guess what? If you were in the ACC, maybe they prop you up over Miami. But if you get a conference, this won't be a problem.
Let me ask you guys a question. Because I certainly like having the top 4 seeds almost basically essentially have a bye. What I'm not liking necessarily is why not have it where you have the lower ranked teams, almost like with the NCAA tournament, you got the field of 68, and those lower tier teams, they got to play into the tournament. Why not have it like that? So why not have JMU play Tulane, and then the winner of that then maybe gets an opportunity to participate against these other ones? Because like I said, I mean, these games, you almost know the outcome. I mean, these games are going to be poorly watched, and they're going to be blowouts. So again, that's not entertaining. But seeing the Cinderellas, if you truly like that, have the lower ranked teams play each other to get a shot at the more higher ranked teams. Why can't they do something like that, like they do with the NCAA basketball tournament? Anybody wants to take that one?
I'll take it. I'll say this: if we may get that when that's going to be their case to expand to 16. They're going to try to tinker with it and have those teams kind of play. So, and one thing I will say is this: as somebody that a graduate of an FCS school, when the FCS schools make it into the tournament, I don't love the play-in. But then once you see the teams in it from the FCS level get a win, then that technically goes on the book as, hey, this is a tournament win. So I think it would be a good thing to be like, hey, JMU playing them. And I hope they keep things like that in mind when they're going to expand it to 16. They're going to expand it to either 14 or 16 teams. That's going to come out. I bet you it comes out because they delayed their meeting until later on this month. They're going to do it. They're going to do everything they can to appease the old great Notre Dame. And so I think that's a really good idea.
Even when they expanded to either 14 or 16 teams, this scenario is going to happen again. So not, they can't. It's not that they're going to be able to indefinitely keep expanding.
Yeah, it's definitely
going to happen again.
That's why honestly I didn't mind when it was 8. But again, it's got to be the top 8. My thing is top 8 conferences. I don't necessarily want them to matter.
I don't mind it's 12 because it gives us better games during the regular season because teams are not as scared now to play against the elite talent, the elite teams, because they don't want this loss on their record. They can afford it. They can afford 2 losses.
Put a pause in that, Shawnee. To put a pause in that because Texas was kind of threatening that and thinking like they might not play those games, and then you could kind of see because the full story is Texas was in the Big 12 and the home ticket sales wasn't moving because nobody was excited to see Iowa State. So, but if I give you a Notre Dame, I give you Ohio State, I give you a Michigan home and home, it's a bit more enticing, but it bit them in the butt once they got into the SEC. And now it's just like, man, because basically if you take the Ohio State game out and you put, Sam Houston State where they played them, you put another powder puff team up there, then that's an extra loss away, even with the bad loss to Florida. And then with those top 10 wins, they're probably in the tournament. They probably knock off Notre Dame anyway. But it's a thing that I think some teams were canceling their games or trying to get a neutral site game. There's going to be reaction to this playoff seeding here, and you're going to see teams try to go back to having those. But it is still going to be a situation. Okay, you're 10-1. You got a good record in your conference, but your out of conference is weak. So is theirs. Now it's splitting hairs and looking at those other metrics to get there. And it's going to be a thing. College football in the playoff setting, the BCS era, all of this is all made for TV, and it's always going to be somebody that gets left out. Even the tournament, they have the first 4 out, and those teams, I love Dick Vitale, but oh my gosh, he does so much crying when teams don't make the tournament, and it's just like, come on, my guy, I love you, dog, but let's move on because we still gonna watch the tournament.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, real quick, Mr. Smith, before we go to the next topic, it's basically this is just the fallout of expanding the tournament to what we currently have, the 12 teams. And then now, what I thought it was the benefit for, it allowed the bigger schools to play each other during the season when they used to avoid each other because they were worried about their win-loss record. But now, if it looks like they're not getting credit for that anymore. Because right now, between it's college football playoffs are bust because so much teams now. You got Ohio State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is they invested. The reason they playing so well right now, they invested a lot of money in the school. So much teams now are investing so much via NIL and whatnot that they expect in their respective program to get to the college football playoff. If they don't get to that, they getting so much pressure now from boosters because they getting all this money. They like, man, if we don't make it, we just go to sit down. They don't care about bowl games. So I know there used to be people kind of complaining about the amount of bowl games that was out there because we started seeing all these like silly like bowl games. I think ultimately that's going to start dwindling down, especially if these teams keep opting out. So they're like, man, we there's no need to have this much bowl game. Just the true bowl games that we've seen over the years, they would still be there.
Mhm.
But I think this is just a domino effect because they invested so much in the NIL. It's literally playoffs or bust, and those teams that had a chance to make the playoff, they don't want to play the other bowl games, so they're going to opt out. And now the bowl games will be looking for teams to kind of put onto their games and hope they bring their fan base because this potential team who like Notre Dame crowd going to watch and their fans going to come, but they opt out. So now who we going to find to replace the Notre Dame crowd? And they're going to mess around and put I don't know, hell, SMU in there, and they're not on the same level.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, again, I think from a ratings perspective, I think the first week is going to be awful, and they're going to have to. If that typically moves the needle more than anything. If it is about ratings or whatnot, then again, you need to have the best programs involved. But I want to certainly turn it over to Dante. Obviously, his alma mater, Prairie View A&M, is playing South Dakota State for the HBCU National Championship. So again, I'm not as familiar with this, but I know you want to sort of bring this up. I know that's your you got a lot of love for Prairie View. So again, if you and anyone else who wants to kind of chop this a little bit before we get into our last subject of the night, but I certainly want to give you the floor and just talk, any things that you want to highlight about this matchup in particular. And I know you raised about Prairie View, the campus and everything. It's really coming on as a one of the better HBCU programs. But I'll turn it over to you. Anything you want to highlight about the game? I believe the game is this Saturday, I think December 13th. So you can take it away and anything you want to say. Sean, if you can contribute as well on this game coming up.
All right. First and foremost, I appreciate the floor here. What I'll start off and say is this: the way we got here is I'll lay it out there. I don't like speaking on it much because obviously nobody wants to speak about the bad part of their school's history. But Prairie View has a long history of not having success in football. And so, in fact, we won our last conference title when I was still an undergrad back in 2009. So it's just like some of that helped wash away some of the past. And obviously, we've been competitive. Like I would say, we made the conference championship game in 2021 against Coach Prom when he was still at Jackson State, and in 2023 when they played against Florida A&M. And so what I'll say is we get a lot of bad flack for that. And obviously Jackson State, if you didn't know, is obviously a stalwart, hysterically, really strong team and has a big fan base and a lot of pride. It was a lot going on because the way the game set up, there was 2 weeks to basically talk shit to the other fan base. And so I was a part of that. I talked a lot of smack and it was backed up. And so it was interesting. But what happens is, since it's conference against conference, the MEAC conference versus the SWAC, and the game is in Atlanta, so the epicenter of Black America. So, you coming in, it's going to be a big game.
Are you trying to go?
Now it's this case of, huh?
Are you going?
I'm not able to go just because of my life situation and everything that I'm handling. But I really desperately want to go. I seriously contemplated it, but I was like, just family needs. But I'll say this: normally when your team loses, you're supposed to root for your conference. You're supposed to root for your conference against the other conference. And I
Right.
know Jackson State is still a bit bitter about it. And so some of them were like, hey, go win for the SWAC, go win for the SWAC. Because historically, the MEAC has won a lot of the matchups. And in this particular game, obviously, as you saw with Coach Fromm, when he went 2 years in a row, they actually beat him. And the thing is, I've more so been doing research on South Carolina State because that's a team that you're only going to play unless you schedule them non-conference. You're only going to play them in the Celebration Bowl. So hopefully that's the thing that changes. I will say I know they have an elite a corner that's really really strong, and they said he held the star receiver from South Carolina to no receptions, and so they were like, I saw some smack talk. They was like, man, this is going to be the easiest Celebration Bowl win ever, and that's the most smack I've seen since, because we have 1,000-yard receiver in Isaiah Rockwell, who's all conference, had a big game against Jackson State, and I'll say is Prairie View. The full story is Tremaine Jackson was a Division II head coach, got moved up to Division I, and he came in the first press conference and stated, "Hey, my goal is to come in and win the West, win the SWAC, and win the Celebration Bowl." And he's here now. People doubted him. They didn't like his methods of how he was getting players and the rules he had for the transfer portal. He brought a great staff, but basically a Division II staff. He brought them in and proved all the doubters wrong. Prairie View, obviously, with the history and with the new staff, 70 transfers, everybody doubted us the whole way.
70.
And
Wow.
that's why I put it on my titles, HBCU championship loading. And for those that don't know, obviously we know the history isn't great, but we still have won Black Cloud HBCU national championships in the past. We have actually, this is our 12th conference title. I know ESPN put out only our second. That's incorrect. It's been 12. And the thing is, with college, yes, you count the stuff from way back yesteryear. It does, because it's still the institution. So I'm looking forward to my alma mater. I'm probably going to one of the watch parties, because I know we got one here in the DFW and we got one in Houston. Really looking forward to catapulting the program to another level, because on early signing day, we did have a lot of signees early, and I think there's more going to keep rolling as they come to the campus. And I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be happier, man.
What network is the game on? Is it ESPN or
It's on
Fox?
ABC.
ABC. Oh, nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
ABC slot 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time.
Gotcha. Very good. All right, Shawnee, anything you want to say on it? I know you have some experience with HBCUs.
Yeah, I'm a Prairie View alumna myself, and it's definitely good that they won the SWAC. I know because they're an FCS team. I know one of the questions that came with them is like, okay, why? Because they obviously going to the Celebration Bowl, but why don't they play really SWAC teams go and play in the FCS tournament? They go, because they're in the same class as them as far as
Mhm.
division. But I forgot the reason why they say they don't do that.
Well, I'll tell you, Shawnee, I'll tell you one reason why. Our history, especially, I would say the MEAC, it would make more sense. But for the SWAC, one of the historic stalwart programs in HBCU football, two of them, is Southern and Grambling. Southern and Grambling set their rivalry game the same weekend as the big FBS teams have them. It's on Saturday after Thanksgiving. And it's a big game, but the FCS playoffs has already started. So even if you are going to qualify, like obviously you would think Jackson State will qualify because they actually are FCS ranked. That's how they got
Hmm.
the tiebreaker against Prairie View. They got the host, same conference record, but they got the host because they were ranked in the FCS poll. If they were to win the Celebration Bowl, whoever wins it, it's already started. And what I will say is personally, I think the FCS is great. I think it does take a lot of money to go to those multiple playoff games. I
Yeah.
like it bringing this revenue of the Celebration Bowl in with these two teams coming in basically. Like I saw all type of parties and mixers and things to celebrate the university, pop-up shops, recruit, all these different things get to go on with just your programs and your history instead of going on and facing these teams and playing a South Dakota State, North Dakota State, or you're playing in some cases you're playing some of these teams that play you for like a money game, like what's a Tarleton State. They're making noise in the FCS now. So I prefer insulating yourself. Now, if you do have a team that's good enough that for whatever reason doesn't qualify for the Celebration Bowl, but you play a strong enough schedule, that's the other thing. Scheduling. Alabama State won 10 games, but they didn't have a strong enough schedule non-conference to be able to make the FCS playoffs. So that's the thing is the conference has to improve on upfront play and quality of their schedules to be able to make the FCS playoffs. And some people just see it as I'm just going to straight shot try to make the Celebration Bowl and go on about our business. And
Yeah,
of
and I
course,
think
finances.
and I think finances also because truth be told, HBCUs don't really, even though they are CS school like the other ones, like the Montana States. I don't think a lot of the HBCUs still don't have the money like those schools do. So
Yeah.
you may play a team, and say they do play like North Dakota State, wherever that game may be within the country. Well, a lot of times HBCU games, our games are right here in the southeast. That's
Yeah.
basically our territory. So even when we have like the SWAC championship game, that was in Alabama, right?
No,
This
that was
game,
no. They now we hosted. So it was in Jackson State, and
oh, okay. So it was in
yeah, they
Mississippi.
hosted now.
So this
Yeah, they
game
was
is
in
going to be in
Mississippi.
Atlanta. The celebration is
Yeah,
going to be in Atlanta. So it's still in that HBCU area.
territory. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why it's put
exactly.
there. It yeah, and it's like I will say lower levels like Division 2, those teams do play in the playoffs because they have it set up like their championship game is like in like mid-November. They'll have it, and then they'll go off and play into the FCS playoffs or the Division 2 playoffs. D2, D3 playoffs. And I respect that because that's the model they set. But there's only 2 Division 1 conferences. I do like it having the Celebration Bowl and doing it. If they want to move and do it in the future, I mean, that's something to look at. But I also say this, James Madison was a stalwart in FCS football,
FCS,
but it gets
yeah.
to a point to where you win, but it doesn't max out on the money, and then so you work your way up, you move up, and then it's able to now JMU is about to get the biggest check they ever seen making the playoff.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it is about money. It is about money. So again, shout out to Prairie. Also, let me say this last statement. Prairie View, we also get talked about from not having the fan support. So the attendance at the game for it was 11,000 for the SWAC championship in a place where Jackson State leads all of SES
11,000
in
what?
attendance.
What do you mean 11?
11,000.
What'd you
Oh,
say?
11,000 people were in attendance for the game?
11,000 fans were there. I saw a good contingent of Prairie View fans there. I will say when they were on defense, I did hear defense chants. But I always say this for everybody that says that, hey, the Celebration Bowl is going to lose money because Jackson State was going to come. It's not a beauty contest like the FBS playoffs and the college football playoff. We're not selecting these teams. The teams that make the Celebration Bowl earn it. And not one of those 11,000 fans on either Prairie View side or Jackson State side played a single freaking snap. It's all about on the field. They won. Jackson State fans, stop crying.
And you said the game's in Atlanta. Is it at the Mercedes
It's at the
Dome?
excuse me, I'm sorry, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the Falcons play. It's where it is.
Nice.
Every year. They normally start the year off with the SWAC MEAC challenge to start the year, and then they end the year with the Celebration Bowl.
Gotcha.
But let me say this real quick.
Yeah. Go
Salute to
ahead.
Jackson State. My wife is a graduate of Jackson State.
Shout out to Jackson State.
JSAT, Jackson State. So, yeah, salute to them, man. So they go get Prairie View. I'm rooting for Jackson State all the way. And it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. I think that space in that arena is needed just for the growth of the HBCUs, man. So salute to them, man.
Yeah. All right. Last block of the night. Again, switching over to boxing. Obviously, this was a story that broke earlier in the week. So apparently, the WBC, World Boxing Council, stripped Bud Crawford of his WBC belt, which he won. He was an undisputed champion at 3 weight divisions. He won it undisputed against Canelo Alvarez at 168. Dominated the fight in my view, regardless of the scorecards. But apparently there was a sanctioning fee that he was supposed to pay. I believe it was $300,000. Again, that's how a lot of these organizations work. That to be their champion, you pay them. And Bud, he had I guess he went live in his car and he had a rant. I don't want to play it just because of the language and everything on it, but he had a rant about the organization itself. that the only belt that really matters to him is the ring championship. And, certainly a lot of folks in the boxing community were kind of split on the issue, in that you have, you want to be called undisputed, you want to carry that, but you couldn't have got there if you didn't have the WBC championship. So it's basically you use the WBC to kind of get into that undisputed and possibly earn that ring championship. Now that you want it, now you don't want to necessarily pay. So a lot of people were, who are, fans of the official belts, the WBA, WBC, IBF, and now WBO in recent years has become like sort of like the fourth major title in boxing. If you want to be undisputed, you have to win 4. Back in the day, it was only those 3. WBO was like a minor kind of organization, but they've got themselves into that 4 that foursome group. So a lot of people were upset about him basically not fulfilling his responsibilities as an undisputed champion. It also brought up issues as far as belts over money. Like, it's like, is having a title, is that really what's going to define your career? Or, fighting in the biggest fights and making the most money, is that a thing? You also have, running parallel to that, you also have Dana White and his new boxing organization that's about to come on the scene, which a lot of people don't like, and I'm one, because I'm not a fan of Dana White's business practice in terms of paying most of his fighters peanuts. And what they're also trying to do is they're also trying to move on the Muhammad Ali Act, which basically ensures transparency when it comes to how the money breaks down. But certainly if they want to try to bring the UFC model into boxing, I'm not sure how that's going to work, because again, you're going to have only a couple fighters making big money, but they pay everybody else scraps. But I think that's the plan. But they kind of came out against the WBC, and I would say this, rightly so, because the WBC. So again, Marion Suleiman, he's the president. He's the son of the guy Jose Suleiman, who I think Coach may remember, because back in the day, Jose Suleiman ran the WBC for decades, and they've always been dubious in terms of their practices, in terms of their favoritism, especially towards, I'll say it here, especially towards Latino fighters. Canelo Alvarez was never had his feet held to the fire to defend his championship against number 1 contenders. But certainly if it's a fighter of another hue, they will strip that guy if he doesn't necessarily defend his belt in the time frame that they want. But they gave Canelo Alvarez every break. They'll create these interim and special titles for people who they like. So the organization has shown a history of corruption that certainly Dana White's organization is right to call out, even though, like I said, I don't agree with their practice either. But certainly Terrence Crawford kind of went in and kind of let them know that he was not going to pay that money. And I don't know what domino effect this is going to have. But as it currently stands now, if you want to be recognized within boxing circles for having a major belt or being undisputed, you have to go through the WBC. And how they make these backroom deals and whatnot, favoritism towards fighters, it's basically taking a lot of scab off of what the problem with boxing. And it's bittersweet for me, because I love boxing. I mean, like I said, compared to MMA, I'll pick boxing every day of the week and twice on Sunday. It's history, it's excitement over any other combat sport. But certainly it always finds a way to kind of shoot itself in the foot. So this was a major story from last week. We'll see what happens. I think that Muhammad Ali Act, they're going to make what they call some modifications to it. That's expected to pass. What that's going to do to protecting the fighters, again, we'll have to wait and see. But from what I understand, it's not going to be necessarily in the fighters' best interest, because you're going to have a lot of money that's being made and poured into this new organization. But at the same time, again, will fighters who are doing the legwork, are they going to benefit from that? So your thoughts, if you guys got a chance to see Bud's response, I think I might have put it in the back chat, one of our, talking about it, your thoughts on his reaction, and is he right? And do you expect other fighters to follow suit that says, no, we're not going to play this game with any of these sanctioning bodies if they're not going to, have the best fighting the best, if they're not going to treat people fairly, if certain organizations are going to favor certain ethnicities over others, then I don't have to be a part of that. So your thoughts? I'll start with Shawnee, and we'll go down. This will be our last block of the show, and so we can get into this a little bit. So your thoughts on Bud and what he said.
Yeah, I saw his video response. Now, I guess in principle, I agree if that's the way they want to, if that's how they do things related to that belt. Hey, I agree for them like to, feel some type of way about that. The fighters. Um, I didn't know that they had to pay a fee for these belts. I just thought they win it, take it home and probably customize in some type of way for that particular fighter, and they lose it, they just take it away. I mean,
well, again, you're paying basically. You're not paying for the belt per se. You're paying for, I guess, the title, or to be recognized by that body as their champion. Whether not the belt is worth $300,000, I don't know if it is or not. I don't think it's got gold and platinum in there or whatever. But I'm just saying. But the fact that you are the titleist for that organization, you are basically the front or the face of that organization.
Yeah,
requiring these fees.
I just don't understand that, because I'm like, I mean, if people watch the fight, they know I'm the champion. So, but I guess they have their own rules and whatnot. I guess maybe it's one of the behind the scenes things that probably drive some boxing enthusiasts crazy about this whole fee thing that they have. I just thought, you win the title, you are recognized as the champion. You are the current face of that belt, and it is what it is. I didn't know there was a whole, okay, now it's time to pay. I was like, you got to pay a tax to be a champion. I didn't know that they had anything like that.
Mm. Coach?
This is a crazy situation, right? Because technically, what they had, it was a sanction, called a sanctioning fee. What they had to pay for is the actual belt itself, and that's the delivery, or 3% of your earnings, which would only max out at $300,000. So if I win a belt, they're going to ship me the belt. I have to pay for that to have the belt. But there can be agreed upon prior to the fight, based off the money, at 3% max, but it can only cap out at $300 and something thousand. So it seems like if he got that big payday, and this has had to be something that was sort of new that they brought to the forefront, because you never really heard about this. All these times we've been watching fights that they actually had to pay for the belt. But if other fighters have had it before him, who may have been other races and it wasn't a big deal, I would pay for whatever fee, but $300,000, that's a lot of money, because a boxer pays damn near everybody that's in that corner, maybe kickback, it's a lot that go out. So it's just odd that they would do that, I don't know, man. This could spark something with a lot of boxers. You may not see as many fights anymore now that it's coming to the forefront. So it'll be something interesting to watch out for over the next year and a half, because I don't think there's any big fights coming up no time soon. So we'll see.
Dante?
Yeah, I didn't know about the fees and things like that. And I heard his live talking about it, and I was like, that's interesting that, you would charge it like that. And my thing is, to be honest, I'm the type, if you didn't agree to this and automatically set this up out of my pay and transfer it, once I get the money, I'm hard pressed to come off of $300,000 for the bill. So I can understand him in that point. But if it is a sanctioning thing where it goes, I guess I'll say it like this. If you said it's a thing where other fighters might band together and not pay it, and it might be a thing, like if it's a labor dispute, I'm always for labor. because the big business is always going to get that money, and they're never able to get a dime of it if it's not for the labor, which in this case is the fighters. So I'm with the fighters all the way. I don't know as much about it. I hope it does get resolved, whatever the situation, because I know he was pretty ticked off about it, because he did mention about, he did allude to, hey, you just knew I was going to lose that fight. You was, your boy, you mad because I beat Canelo. I could tell from that point of it. He mentioned that a few times. I was like, oh, that's another interesting thing to look at it, and the politics of it. But it's like, this guy was a champ. He did win the belts. I just hope, with as long as it was in hhis career before he got to the payday, I hope that he could work it out, maybe get another few fights, and then go out on top, because I was really impressed what he did. Because I ain't gonna lie, I heard so many times from people, oh, Canelo's untouchable. He's this, he's that. I love to see him go and lose. I love that. I love that, that, and I won't even call him an underdog. I'll just say he was underrated, because I'd heard from plenty of boxing people how good he was, and then where he dominated one of my favorite fighters. And I was just like, nah, you gained a big fan out of me. So hope he works it out. And I'm with you. I do not like Dana White's business practices. I do not want him any part of boxing, because he is all for making sure that the guys up top get the money and the labor doesn't. So I'm anti Dana White.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this kind of move, I think they're trying to play on it to drive fighters to Dana White. It's like, oh, if this is how the WBC and other organizations that do things, they're saying, hey, we're not charging you any fees. But the problem is, you're not going to make a lot of money either. So it's almost like
you're not going to make any money.
Right. So it's like, what would you rather choose in that particular situation? And like I said, with the WBC in particular, again, their favoritism towards Latino fighters, you can go just over years. That again, Canelo was able to skate fighting guys who were 20 pounds less than him. His last few fights, he never fought anybody at, he didn't fight the guy he's just moved up now, David Benavidez, who was there for 2 years. He was the number one mandatory for 2 years. And they found every excuse in the world not to have David Benavidez get in there, because most likely he was going to win. So again, I think the WBC has very little credibility, but it is part of the lineal line. You talk about WBC, you talk about all the great fighters who were WBC champions, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, just that, and I can understand a fighter who's fighting for legacy wants to have that on their resume, that I was a WBC champion. And certainly if you could be undisputed, again, you can't get to undisputed unless you have a WBC title. So at some point you're going to have to understand, you're going to have to play, I guess, by their rules to a large extent, if that's what you want. But for guys like Bud at this point, since he is arguably pound for pound the best fighter in the world, some people may say Usyk, but certainly Bud's right up there. He can fight anybody he wants at this point. So it's not so much about titles anymore. It's like you get the ring, as a champion, but then are you able to cash in on that and get the accolades from that as well? So I think that he's certainly in a position where he doesn't have to play by their rules. The question is going to be, will other fighters want to certainly follow suit and be that. So, and one fighter was the paper champion was Lennox Lewis, and that was for the WBC. Yeah, I mean, it's like picking and choosing who gets the opportunities, who gets the title contentions and whatnot. But again, for Canelo to fight all those fighters outside of his weight class, I thought was clearly favoritism by that organization. So again, it wouldn't do me no harm whatsoever if organizations like the WBC went the way of the Titanic. Great history and everything, but either clean up your act and start treating these fighters fairly, or you don't need to be there. But with that, we're at the certainly end of the show. Again, we covered certainly a lot of topics tonight. Just want to say congratulations to Coach on successful night for the teams, and certainly we can go into final thoughts. Certainly anybody who wants to break, and I think I think I've said enough tonight. So if Shawnee, Dante, if you guys got final thoughts tonight, we can certainly you can present those now, and we'll end with the coach, and we'll close out the show. You muted, sir. Shawnee, you muted.
Yeah, I'm good on my final thoughts.
Cool. Dante, you good?
Only final thought I got is I know we had a lot of talk about it earlier in the year, and I wasn't on the segment earlier when y'all was talking about it. And man, I told y'all, man, I don't know what's going. I do know what's going on in Philly. I hope they keep imploding, but it looks like it does look like they got to fix some things this offseason. They got to fix some things this offseason because what is the running game? Because to me, it feels like Jalen Hurts is best when he's the bus driver. And when he got to drive the whole bus and do it all, you can't have that turnover he had late in the game like that. And
Yes.
I think they'll beat the Raiders. I got guaranteed a loss against Buffalo. The only other problem is they got 2 games left against the Commanders who stink. So they probably will make it in to the playoffs. But
I was just going about to ask you
Daniels not
that. Do you
healthy.
still? I know you were confident. You put all your chips in last week. You felt Dallas will win the division. Is it over for? Will they make the playoffs? Do you still think they can overcome and win the division?
I think they're gonna have to win. They have to win every game at this point. I felt like they needed to win the Detroit game, and they really would have been in position because they would have probably lost to Buffalo and won the other games. But I don't think the Cowboys are gonna make it. I think they're gonna get the last 4 wins to be what is it? That'll be 10-6-1. But I
Yeah.
think Philly, obviously, if they're gonna go probably 3-1 down the stretch, and and that's how it's gonna go. But hey, you can't lose that game against Detroit like that. You can't lose against the Cardinals, and you can't lose against that game against the Panthers, which they were in position to win. So no
Yeah.
cry over spilled milk. But I'm enjoying watching the Eagles struggle and suffer and put up a emotional support bunny in the locker room. Like that's soft as I don't know what.
I heard that. Coach, you got the final words, sir?
No, man, listen, man, we come down to the best part of football, man, the last 4 weeks of football, man. So all you fans of football, if your team ain't playing well, don't be crying all over everybody talking about they weak. Just right into the organization and tell them to draft better. No, man, this is a great time of year, man. I love it, man. Basketball, football, sports in general, man. Salute to my teams, man. They played good ball today, team ball. I had to almost cuss out a parent, but that was okay. I worked that out. But no, man, let's do it, man. Coming up on holidays, man. I hope everybody have a safe and prosperous end of the year, first of the year, man. Salute to everybody, man.
I heard that. And just to address Anton, now we don't talk. I mean, Army.
I'm bad
Navy,
about that, Antoine.
Was that?
I said my bad. I forgot. It slipped. It's a
Army
game
Navy,
that
yes,
I
is
respect.
coming up.
But
Listen, I watched the intro. I mean, the marching in, the spectacle of it is certainly one of the best in sports. No question. And ignore hockey. Listen, man, hockey season is a long season, bro. You're gonna have to at least hit me. Maybe when we get some downtime once the football's over and around the break or whatever, we may have to deal with that. But hockey, I can't deal. I can't even deal with the NBA right now. Everything that's going on, like I said, the Chris Paul situation was the most exciting and most interesting topic to talk about over the last couple months in the NBA at this point. So I'm not there yet. I got to get warm. But football, 16 games, 12 games or whatever, every game is like a major. But yeah, Army, Navy, if one of those guys was like in the playoffs, I think that would be great for either one of those programs. If you can get one of those military branches in the college playoff, if they were good, certainly that would be we're talking about. But again, salute to the vets and certainly those who serve. And like I said, it's a major, like I said, the ceremony at the beginning, you can't get more patriotic than that. So I appreciate that part of it. As far as the game itself, though, I can take it. I can take it or leave it. And I don't even know who's good this year. Who's better, Navy or Army this year? Who's got the better record?
At one time, Navy was doing pretty. I think Navy had a chance to
I think it's
make
Navy.
it to their conference title game, but they lost a big one
They
against
did.
UNT.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah. So I will be watching the opening though. That is for sure. But again, we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight on the One-on-One Sports Show. Make sure you hit the like button certainly as you leave tonight, and certainly until our next time meeting again. For myself, Mr. Bennett, for Shawnee, for Dante, and for the coach, the winning coach. You're gonna have them girls in shape. I'm telling you, if he puts another year, coach. Yeah, we raising championships. I'm telling you, man. You have to Clear the field.
I
Now,
won't be the coach of that team. I'll be moved on.
but you got him in a direction, man. Well, let's visit this towards the end of the season. You gotta, you got those girls humming, man. You can't leave a hot train. But hopefully, all the success with that. But for everyone here, again, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you next week. Good night.